This is Professor Tolliver from the English department, and I would like to welcome you to this summer's film course, which is on romantic comedy. First of all, I'd like to give you a little bit of an overview of what is entailed with the romantic comedy. In the heyday of Hollywood, the mode of production required that films be turned out at a fast pace, and one of the ways that they were able to do this was to resort to formula, and this gave rise to the genre. There are many different genre films, such as horror films, westerns, gangster films, and also the romantic comedy. So what you have is a category of film that relies upon preconceived sort of characteristics. And in the romantic comedy, what you have is the what is called the love plot, which involves a romance between a man and a woman. Boy meets girl, boy loses girl, boy gets girl in the end. So it's a pattern of encounter, complication, and recovery. And this will be true for most of the romantic comedies that we will investigate. There are other tropes that you will encounter in these films. Some of these will include the emphasis really on the couple more than anything else. Also, issues having to do with marriage and remarriage, with faithfulness and having being loyal to your partner. Also, the threat of divorce, very important in a lot of these comedies. In terms of other tropes, visually, for instance, most of them have a kind of metropolitan setting, although there are certain kinds of travels to the country. And in these films, you're talking about Connecticut as the country. It's really fascinating how often Connecticut shows up in these films. There's a heavy emphasis on costuming as a way of expressing particularly the female emotions in the films. There are lots of stock characters. Now you'll have the jilted suitor, you'll have the heroine's best friend. All of these will recur in many of these films. There are certain kinds of narrative trends. The characters will meet cute. You'll find this very often at the beginning of these films. Certain plots, like the runaway bride who is unsure of her desire to marry a particular person and she runs away. There's the masquerade, where someone is pretending to be someone else, and there's confusion that's resolved in the end. In terms of ideology, and this is really important, romantic comedies serve to reinforce the status quo, for the most part, the prevailing attitudes towards marriage and the best way that one ought to live. So we'll look at that as well, what kind of ideology is espoused by romantic comedy. So these are some of the issues and topics we will pursue over the course of the next 5 weeks. As a last thing, I'd like to point to the first film, which is It Happened One Night. I'd like to start the course to hit the ground running. I would like for you over the Memorial Day weekend to watch It Happened One Night, which is the first film that we will look at. It was made in 1934. It is a landmark of the romantic comedy, really the beginning of the modern iteration of it. And to pay attention to some of the issues that we will pursue. Two issues. What is the balance of power between the male and the female? In this case, between Claudette Colbert and Clark Gable. And second of all, what is the overall view of society that the film conveys? So pay attention to power dynamics between male and female and the view of society that is pervaded. So, as I say, this is just a brief overview of some of the issues and topics we will pay attention to. And what I hope is that by the end of the 5 weeks, you will have seen a lot of really good classic films, and you will have enjoyed them, but at the same time, you will have learned an awful lot about Hollywood and its production of films, and also about some of the technical aspects of film as well. So I look forward to this course and to meeting you and conversing with you and interacting with you over the next 5 weeks.